Thanks, guys, for coming. Earlier this year, we had an incident where it was during overhaul, thought power was shut down to the building, and somebody got electrocuted. It turned out it was illicit power use coming into that structure. And so talked about that safety committee. How it came out of that was let's give Rocky Mountain Power to use some time this, and then give us an education on electricity, and specifically talk about illicit power use as well as a surrounding making for us. So they've got about a 45-minute tower presentation for you guys, and then obviously give it out to all the crews as well to help try to address that safety concern for us. So.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. We'll hurry and do an introduction of ourselves. My name is Mike Mountier. I've been with Rocky Mountain Power for 42 years. I'm old. Yeah. 10 years in safety. Before that, I was 18 years as a lineman. So that's kind of my background. Todd, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Todd Lindley, Rocky Mountain Power, as you know, for 40 years. Been in the safety department for about 20 of those. I'm here to help you understand a little bit about electricity, and glad to be helping my team.
I'm Dave Talbot. I've been with Rocky Mountain Power 36 months. Makes it sound cooler because 40 years, 36 months. No, I've been with Rocky Mountain Power for 3 years. My background is purely safety, so this is kind of my fortes to come out with these guys and help assist them. So.
Yeah, it's a very open. If you guys have questions, ask them, please, while we're going. That's the best time to ask them, because then we can address it at the time. If we don't have an answer, we'll get back to you. But usually we can figure it out between the three of us. So we'll get started on this. What we're doing is we want to show you. We were actually asked by Salt Lake City Fire about 3 years ago to come out and put this presentation together. We had an issue with one of our substations up in downtown Salt Lake that very easily could have had very bad consequences, the best way to put it. We very easily could have killed a few firefighters. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen anymore, as well as if you guys have questions, like I say, we can hopefully answer some of those. So let's get going on this. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the first responders and what we ask you guys to do when you show up on the scene in any of our equipment, okay? A definition of electricity is a form of electricity that is carried through wires to power factories and homes. You can't see it, hear it, or taste it, but you'll feel it just before it kills you. And that's really pretty accurate. Other than you can taste it. I'm a prime example. I can tell you exactly why. New journeyman lineman, I own it. I know what the hell I'm doing, right? I own everything there is. I go up on a 120 service on a home, the neutral, which is a return. So whatever's not being used in the house gets come back out through that piece of conductor. I go up there one day and it's open up on the neutral. Worst thing you ever do is get in serious. We'll talk about it here in a minute. I grabbed one side of that wire and grabbed this side of the wire. I could taste the fillings in my mouth. It lit me up. So that's 120 volts. So, and Todd will get into a lot more of that here in a minute about what it takes to have issues with that. So, you guys see any issue with this picture at all?
Was that
Exactly. That's a 240 service going to that home. It's on his respirator, whatever you guys call it, on his breathing equipment. The other issue I have is it's in California, but that's just me. So, but no, good catch, because that's one of the issues. You can't be guaranteed that that's de-energized, okay? There's no guarantees unless we've told you, we tested and verified that it's de-energized, okay? So just something to think about. Be aware of your scenes before you head in. Everything, all of our stuff, go ahead, Dave. So I just talked about getting in series. This is literally getting in series. So you are now the path. So you grab one side of that conductor, like here, grab this side, and then you grab this side. You are now the path. And I can guarantee you are a better path than the wires are themselves. So please never do that. If you ever show up on something, don't mess with our equipment until we are there to tell you it's safe. Okay? Go ahead, Dave. This is a pretty graphic. I don't know if you guys have seen this video or not. It's pretty intense. And it really shows exactly what will happen.
उतर नहीं रहा है हर प्रकार में लगा दिया हो गया काम।
Unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. I've been here, like I said, 42 years. We have lost 5 of our employees that were trained in this type of work. Mistakes were made, corners were cut, things like that. So we're going to hopefully help you guys just understand what's there and not get involved. So this is Todd's expertise. I'll let Todd take over this part of it.
Going to help explain Mike's conditions and what was going on with getting into series. I need some volunteers holding that section right there with your left hand. Thank you. All right. First of all, what's your first name?
I'm Chris.
Chris, I'm Todd.
Nice to meet you, Todd.
Nice knowing you. Mike talked about getting into series, and we're going to talk about completing a path here and how the human body is actually a conductor and how this can all incorporate what you just witnessed there with that individual on the train, getting into contact, and how that relates to electricity and the hazards that it has out there. What I'd like you to do is hold my left hand, hold his hand, hold his hand. All right, you two right there, let go of your hands. Now, touch his nose with your finger. Release it. Hold hands. Touch his nose. Release it. Hold his hand. You and I can let go. I can touch your nose with my pinky. And we can make that path occur. All of that is what we're doing here is creating a series. We're actually in series when this happens. There's the energy source. That's the path to ground, but we're completing the path. That's what's got to happen in order for electricity to flow. It's got to complete the path. If not, it's going to ground. And that's where electricity wants to go, is back to the source, back to ground. What we just did there was get into series. My body's going to go through from my right arm, across my chest, to my hand, and I'm going to complete series with myself. Same thing that you would have with Mike's condition there. So that's one thing I want everybody to understand. Electricity gets into series, you're part of that path. You don't want to be part of that path. Mike? Oh, okay. When we talk about what's on the screen here and amperage and voltage, why is that so important? Now, granted, that didn't have any voltage in it. No amperage. It didn't hurt you. Just the psychological concept. But hopefully that helps give a visual on understanding what getting in series means and how electricity will follow all paths. Our human body is a conductor. There's about 70% fluid in us. Obviously, we got the main electrolytes, sodium, bicarbonate, potassium, magnesium, everything that's part of a conductor. What's important is when we talk about voltage and amperage, this power cord that I have here, this extension cord that I've got, is plugged into a floor outlet there. These tables that you're sitting at, there is actually a power cord here. Now, why is that so important to understand? What's the voltage going through here, gentlemen, ladies? 120. So you've got 120 volts going through here. Anybody know what the amperage might be? 20 amps. We're in a commercial business, so it probably is on a 20 amp breaker. Might be 15, but it could be 20 amps. Now there's two differences. One's voltage and one's amperage. One is the flow of electrons, but something's got to push that electrons to get down that path. That's the amperage that's got to push it. When we take a look and we see what it does to the human body and where amperage is such a concern, granted, voltage may not really cause harm. It's the amperage is going to cause the harm here. Basically, the GFI, the ground fault circuit interrupter, the protection, yeah, you can just kind of feel a little bit of a tingle with that little bit of amperage. The 5 to 10 amperage is the point you might not be able to let go. 20 to 50 amps, it's usually fatal, such as a 480 amp service on a commercial residential or a commercial business. But the probability of fatalities goes up when the amperage is above 50.
But what's interesting, you look at this, a hair dryer is 1,000 watts. Now that's 120 volts. A light bulb, typically 100 watts. A shaver, 12 watts. And Christmas tree lights, 7.5 watts. But when we get into the amperage, we need to think about the tiny amps. The reason I asked what this might be on, some of you said 20 amps. Granted, this isn't usually a deadly device, but the amperage here can be to humans, because I take 20 amps out of this and I only take 1 amp away, 1 amp. And I put that through a body like Mike did with the series, and getting from one hand going across the chest, from the SA node, the AV node, the bundle of his, and the Purkinje fibers to go around the heart, and through the other hand or through the foot. If that electrical path crosses there just right, all it takes is 1/10 of an amp to cause ventricular fibrillation. Not even 1 amp, less than 1 amp, and it can cause ventricular fibrillation. It's just depending upon the path, how that goes from wherever the point of entry is through the body and the point of exit is. So even though we talk about voltage, be aware it's the amperage that you need to be concerned about. And it's basically less than 1 amp is what will affect you. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. This next video, you've always heard electricity takes the path of least resistance, right? You also know it takes all paths. It doesn't care where it's going, it's going to get to ground. So this picture right here is 120 volt contact, okay? Here's your exit wound. This is just that day. So here's your exit wound. Look right here. Here's an exit wound, exit wound, exit wound, exit wound. Those are all exit wounds. It's taking all paths, okay? Yeah, he'll lose his foot, guaranteed, because this is like 3 days later, it cooks you from the inside out, is the best way to put it. It's like a microwave. That thing will be this big by 3 days. So please, what we're trying to get here is understand what little lower voltage can do to you, okay? So go ahead, Dave. This is an amazing video. This kind of shows step touch potential. This was in, I can't remember where it was at, but it's a very good video, especially for you guys. Let me tell you where it's at. You guys seen this video? You'll like this one. That sound you hear right there is the worst sound you can hear is a line. It means something bad is happening, okay?
Yeah, they're not as quick.
And it gets louder and louder. Okay, as you can see, it's contacting the swing set, right? It's right here. Going across the swing set, out. That line just sees this as load, so it just keeps ramping up, right? So it just keeps giving more and more. You'll watch here in a minute, it gets a lot brighter, a lot stronger. Okay, see this fence right here? That conductor is not touching that fence. It's up on this bush. It's not touching this fence at all. Watch what happens right here in a second. Look at the proximity of the firefighters to that fence.
Holy cow! Look at the fence!
It energized that whole fence. Now, whatever voltage that was at, we don't know. But if they'd have been leaning against this fence, whoever's leaning against it probably would have. Okay? That's what we call step touch potential. We'll hit a little bit more on that. You can get out. So, things to look for when you guys pull up on the scene. Obviously, when you get there, if something of ours is on fire, a pole, something like that, let it burn. Seriously, because what happens when you start spraying that, especially if there's a transformer or something on that pole, there's oil inside those transformers. If it's super hot, when you hit it with cold water, it's going to explode. So it's going to have to be replaced anyway, 9 times out of 100. Just let it burn. Until our people get there and tell you it's safe, and you guys do what you do. You're trained to be the firefighters. We're not. We're there to make sure you guys are safe, okay? So some of the things you guys will see is this, our weatherhead. This is probably one, it could be 277, 480. So that could be a 480 volt service. So please just let it go until we can get there. Something like this, when you're fighting a fire in a house, we'll get that in a second. You can go next one, Dave. Again, this is something that's recommended. Dave can hit more on this than I can. Is voltages, when you get around these voltages, maintain your distance. Your best bet is 20 feet, okay? We got a couple videos in here, or one video and one still picture of what happens when we get firefighter stuff energized. Okay, obviously I've got it up in the primary somewhere, okay? Look at where it's going. It's going around at the riggers, right? Why are these burning? Why are the tires burning? What are they made out of? What else? Exactly. They're still cores, right? They're still braids. That's going to burn as well. This whole truck is now energized. At whatever that voltage is up top, this whole truck is energized at that. So if somebody has to be leaning against that, they're going to be taking that voltage because you're a better path. It's going to go through you, right? Okay. Go ahead. Things to look for. The new thing is not generators, it's solar, right? Everybody's got solar. The other thing is people will plug their generators into their home and plug it in and not flip the main breaker on the outside. So it backfeeds our equipment. Our transformers don't care. These are our overhead transformers. They don't care which way the voltage goes in. If it's 240 volts here, you're going to get 7,200 volts out the top. Doesn't care. So if they're backfeeding our system, anything down here will be energized. So we want you to just be aware of that particular issue. Solar can be an issue. Same thing, right? If they've got a battery bank, something like that, some backfeed that system. So just something to be aware of. What else, Dave? We'll go through some of this stuff here in a minute. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay, we talk about step potential. Okay, you'll hear it from us all the time. It's probably the most dangerous things you guys will deal with. You guys been to a flat, really calm pond, right? Throw a rock in it. You see those rings. Okay, what happens is where that voltage source is, where it's touching the ground, is 5,000 volts. If you step between here and here, you're now a path for a difference of 1,000 volts. So when you step like this, if that's right here, it's going to come up through you and back down here 1,000 volts. Okay. Again, it's not the voltage we worry about; it's the amperage. So there's a way to avoid this, and we'll show you how to do that here in a second. Go ahead.
If you contact a power line with your vehicle, call for help, stay where you are, and keep others at least 10 meters away from the vehicle.
Anybody know what 10 meters is? How far? In feet?
In the event of a contact, it is not just a vehicle,
Exactly.
equipment, or object that could be energized. Everything within a 10-meter radius of the contact could also be energized. That's why you have to be aware of both step and touch potential. With step potential, electricity spreads, like ripples or rings, over the surface of the ground, away from the point of contact. Each ring carries a different voltage. If you step into one ring while your foot is in another, the electricity will make up the difference in voltage through your body. With touch potential, if someone on the ground touches what is in contact with the power line, electricity will travel through that person's body to get to the ground. If you hit a power line, you can try to break the vehicle free of the contact, but only if it doesn't cause more risk to yourself or others, or more serious damage to the power line. If you can safely break from the contact, move the vehicle or equipment at least 10 meters away to safety. If you must exit the vehicle, only in the case of a fire, jump away from the equipment with 2 feet together, then bunny hop or shuffle at least 10 meters away from the equipment.
Don't take large steps, as there is the potential for electrical current traveling through your body. If you're not sure you're far enough away, slowly move your feet apart. If you feel a tingling sensation in your legs, you are still within the step potential zone and must continue to bunny hop or shuffle away.
I guarantee I can't bunny hop 30 feet. I'll fall. Guaranteed. I'll catch a toe or something and I'll fall. When he jumped off that, did you notice what he did? And clearly he was not touching that piece of equipment when he jumped, right? Because what happens if he's touching that as he jumps and hits the dirt, he's now the path. So when you jump, you get somebody, the reason we're showing you this, say you show up on an accident, okay? Pull on the conductor, or pull on the car, conductor on the car, they have to get out. There's a reason. It's on fire. We can't get our people there right then and there. This is what they need to do. If they can get out, they have to jump, okay? Make sure they jump clear, and then I can't bunny hop, so you shuffle. You keep heel to toe, okay? That way they can clear that piece of equipment or their car or whatever. So something to this effect, what we're talking about, okay? And you guys are always there before we are, 99 times out of 100, because you are the people they call first, right? So if you show up on something like this, if you don't need to get in there, if they're okay, nothing's on fire, just wait, please, okay? But if we have to, we'll talk about some other things that we can do. We need to have your dispatchers, make sure they have our dispatcher's number. What we want you to do is you call your dispatcher and explain to them it's an emergency. And what you can do is you can look on any of our equipment. Every piece of equipment we have, poles, transformers, have numbers like this, okay? If you don't know the exact address, you can give them these bottom 6 numbers, and they can de-energize that whole circuit in the valley. They can dump that circuit, and then you guys are okay to go in if you have to be in there. If not, let our people get there, and they will make sure it's de-energized and grounded before you go in, okay? We just want to make sure you, as first responders, are safe. Like I said, equipment, cars, things like that, we can replace. You can't be replaced, okay? Unfortunately, we've had 2 years ago, a police officer up in Salt Lake went up into Bountiful, I think it was. Car hit pole somewhere up in that area, or car hit transformer, which is little screen boxes on the ground. Didn't see it there, walked up to the car, touched the car, killed him. Just that quick. It's literally, anybody know how fast electricity travels? Speed of light. So you're not quicker, I can guarantee you're not faster than that. The other thing we talk about a lot, and I want to make sure we talk about, you guys still teaching to break your stream when you're fighting fires. With electricity, it's not going to work. You guys are not that fast. You're amazing, but you're not quite that fast. So please, like I said, if it's burning, let it go. We'll fix it later. This is a pretty good video on step touch potential. We won't spend the whole time. We'll watch part of it. This never happens either. There's no.
Sorry, my meeting ran late. I should be home in about a half an hour. Sure, I can pick up dinner. What do you want? Hot and spicy. That's what I'm talking about. I will. I love you too. Whoa. Oh, man.
This is what we were talking about just a minute
that's
ago.
what an
With the car hit
airbag
pole or
feels like.
transformer.
My car. Great. I should probably get out and see how bad the damage is. Wait. Are those telephone wires or power lines? Either way, they could be hot. No way to be sure. Don't take any chances. Just stay in the car and call 911. Good thing I actually paid attention during that safety meeting. Hi, this is Stephen Stonebanks. I've been in a car accident. I hit a power pole. I'm on Highway 18, somewhere east of the 356th Street exit, a couple of miles. No, I'm okay, but there are power lines on my car. Okay, yeah, I know. I won't move until you tell me that the line is de-energized. Yes, I will stay put. Okay, please hurry. Thank you. Honey? Listen. I've been in an accident. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I hit a power pole. The car is a mess, but I'm okay. Yeah, I've called 911. They're on their way. Oh, no. Hey!
Are you okay?
Hey! Stay back! No, don't come any closer. You could get shocked by the ground around these down power lines. Stay back about 35 feet and make sure no one else comes near.
Okay.
I've called 911. They're on their way. Thank you. Honey? No, I'm fine. No, don't worry. Yeah, the police are on their way. Yeah, all I've got to do now is sit and wait. Honey? I gotta call you back in a couple of minutes. Oh boy. Not good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Plan B. Exit the vehicle. But now I gotta worry about touch potential. Touch potential is risk of electrocution based on one part of the body touching an energized object like a car while simultaneously touching the ground. Electricity flows from the vehicle through the body and into the ground, essentially making me into a human jumper cable, which would be bad. I gotta jump and land with both feet together. Whew! Okay, now step potential. Because the ground is energized, electrical current can travel through me if my feet aren't close together. Electrical current enters through one foot and out the other. The further apart my feet are, the greater my chances of getting shocked. So I must move away using short, shuffling steps. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. There you go. You got this, Steven. No large steps. Just keep on shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling. Oh. I'm sorry, I can't come to the phone right now. I'm busy trying to stay alive at the moment. Almost there. Hi, honey.
It's a pretty good idea, right? It gives you an idea what to look for. Again, it shows both those step touch potential and step potential. This next video, I don't know if you guys will recognize these trucks or not. I don't know if you ever saw this. Was actually, Todd found it on YouTube when we were doing this presentation. I think it was a tire fire, something, I can't remember. But watch what happens when this starts. Obviously you saw the, if you can get back to that one. No, you're fine. What you're doing is they were spraying across our power lines into this fire. You watch what happens once he gets these phases together. Watch this stream of water and watch what happens with it. People walking by, firefighters walking back and forth, obviously doing their job. But see these conductors, they're still energized. Obviously, they'll start bouncing here in a second. Watch what happens. I know you guys are focused on what you're trained to do. This is one of the situations where situational awareness would really come into play, okay? This one's doing the same thing, but they're actually spraying over the top. They're not spraying our conductors. Okay, see how they're starting to bounce those conductors? Okay, he's now energized. It's energized that whole truck. This whole truck had been energized. Luckily, your firefighters were smart enough to break that stream. You see how far you had to go to break that? It's a long ways, and there's no guarantee of what it's going to take to clear that. On the truck. And Todd will demonstrate a bird on the wire type of thing here in a minute with this. It really comes across with this, so.
So if someone was standing on the ground leaning against the truck when that happened?
They're now the step touch potential. They're going to take whatever voltage goes through them, and I can guarantee it's going to be most of what come off that line. That line right there, with what they did, is 12,470 volts. So when I say that, and just real quickly, this is 7,200, 7,200, 7,200. Between those two is 12,470 volts. That's our system all through this valley. So other areas, it's different voltages, but that's distribution as well.
When you finally got it, he
broke that, yeah.
Does that truck instantaneously be energized?
Yep.
Or take a second?
Nope, it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, electricity travels at the speed of light, so it's done that quick. That's a great question. I'm glad that they were quick enough to get that up out of there, because it would have literally burnt that truck to the ground. Who's to know what we don't know what our settings are at the substation. If there's fuses downline that would have tripped, we don't know. If you're close to a substation, it's going to sit and burn. So, very fortunate there was no issues with this, no issues at all that I know of. So,
Could have dropped the lines, converted it
yeah, and when that happens, it can energize that whole ground where it hits everything else. So, guys, just be aware of where you're at, okay? Please. So, I'm not going to worry too much about getting substations. If you roll up on a substation, there's an issue inside that sub, just let it go, please. Yeah. Oh, that is a pad mount. You're right. Sorry, I apologize. Everything in our transformers, in our pad mounts, is oil. There's the only thing in there, oil and metal. So that we've had issues in whatever, not your area, another area I cover. They were opening one of our transformers to get in and spray it. There's nothing to spray in there. It's just oil and 2 termination points. You spray that oil, it's just going to go boom. Okay, just vegetable oil. Best corn oil is what we call it. But so something like this, let it go. Okay, please. I know that's not what you're trained to do, and I know it's hard to stand back and watch it happen, but it's just not worth it, because you saw what happens when you energize something with your water stream, right? A little more step touch. This is when they're digging into our underground. Guys, these are some of our conductors. You can pass them around. This is what happens when you hit one of our conductors with a piece of equipment, a shovel or something like that. That's a primary underground. Secondary underground. This is our overhead conductors. Okay, and you guys can pass around. I wished I'm so mad I forgot. I don't know if you guys heard in November, there was a kid up in Fruit Heights. We had a fatality. One of the kids, 16-year-old kid, climbed one of our structures in Fruit Heights. Dave and I both got the call that night. We go up there, and that structure had been energized for 45 minutes. And there's pieces of sand that have turned to glass that are this big up there. So, what are you going to smell? Oh, yeah, go ahead and pass it around. We'll show you this video. This is something in one of our substations up in Idaho where we made a mistake closing in a switch, and it damn near burnt this substation to the ground. Okay, it's very violent. Hear that sound? That's the sound you never want to hear. You can see it right here. There's a switch. That switch right there is what they screwed up on. This is filmed by a guy walking his dog. He got his phone out and started video on this. Our people are long gone. Extremely violent. That's the most dangerous system we have is our substations, because there's so many things that are in such a tight area. You guys saw the video, I would imagine, of the lady that was in our substation just over here. I don't know if you guys saw that where the police were in there, and we actually, about the time she was reaching up that piece of equipment, they got that substation de-energized. If not, you would have seen her literally, unfortunately, blown in pieces. So, and TV and everybody else is there. That would have been horrible. So, yeah, please just stay out of our substations. If you need to get in them, call our people. Let us get there, de-energize what we need to do to make sure you're safe. Again, this stuff can be replaced. You can't, okay? I think that's, sure.
A lot of times we go on these incidents, especially with like the gas company, and it's, well, we'll be there within the hour. Do you have certain code where you're like, we'll be there right now?
We have people in this area. We have people on call 24 hours a day. If you call our dispatcher, have your dispatcher call ours and say, we have car hit pole, we have wire on the ground, they will let them know immediately. If they're not on another emergency, they'll be there just as soon as they can. It's usually 5 to 10 minutes. At night, it can be a little bit longer because we have 2 troubleshooters that cover both ends of the valley, so it might take a little bit longer.
Do you rate the level of emergency like we do?
No, not really. If you tell me you have a car hit pole, wire on the ground, on a car or whatever, it's going to be something they're going to let those guys know. If you call in and say, hey, we got an issue, they're not going to be in a hurry. You need to let us know that there's an emergency right then and there. And again, if we have to, we can dump that circuit, but it takes thousands of people out, which I don't care about, especially as a troubleshooter. I don't give a damn. We want to make sure people are safe. And I don't mean to be rude, but that's exactly what I care about is the people, right? So this is things that when you show up on an outage or a car hit pole, you'll see a lot of things like this. Conductors everywhere. Even though it's on the ground, it does not mean it's de-energized. I wish I had that glass because it shows what happens, turns sand literally to glass. It's amazing in a bad way, unfortunately. Things like this, trees have been energized. You'll see a lot of that. Again, you get this call, make sure that if you see that conductor, do not spray it, okay? It's still energized, all right?
Question for you on that.
Yeah, no,
Let's
perfect.
just say the wood pole's on fire, but it's 10 feet below. Do you want us to
Nope.
just
Let it go.
go?
But make sure you maintain your distance because what's going to happen, it's going to roll over. And if it's close to the substation, it might stay energized. So keep the distance because they're usually 40 to 45 foot poles. And when they roll, you're going to go about 35, 40 feet out. So not guaranteed it's going to hit the dirt. It might stay about this high with the other conductors or the other poles holding it up in the air. That's the other thing is when you pull up on a scene, make sure you can see what's there. Some of our conductors copper and it's about that big and it's green and it's harder than hell to see. So please stand back like you guys do. I know you do your situational awareness before you ever go in. Look for that as well, okay?
We've had them, like the corridor on Navajo Street.
No.
Or south. They're big poles.
That's our transmission.
Wire, we knocked it out, and then the ground wire down the side of the pole started on fire within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're like, no more water. Just let it do it.
Yep, exactly. Those are bigger poles. That's all our transmission voltages. That's 46,000 volts to 500,000 volts. So this corridor that runs terminal subs out here, there's a few substations right in your area. It could be 46, 138, 230, any of those voltages are in here. That's 230,000 volts, okay? You can obviously tell our structures are bigger. In fact, there's one right here, I think. Yeah. The one across the street, I think, is a transmission pole. Yeah, so just be aware of it. Again, keep your distance. You roll up, pole's on fire, let it go. We'll be there as soon as we can get there. Like I said, make sure you let our dispatchers know it's an emergency, okay?
They showed up pretty fast last set.
Yeah.
We had a car down the pole, and it was a street light, but the street light was still lit up even though it was on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And the wire was 2 feet above the ground and across the street. You guys got there relatively quick and we stayed.
Good.
It was the middle of the night, too.
Really? Good. Like I said, down in this area, there's usually, WRC covers most of our area, and they're literally over on California? No. Right, yeah, they're right over here. So they're very close. So the daytime, we have usually 3 or 4 troubleshooters out. Like I said, at night, it's a little bit longer. Weekends, there's 2 again, so. Those are great questions. That's Todd, by the way, just so everybody knows. Anyways, he's just a little bit younger. Any questions about what we talked about so far? We were talking about you show up on a home, please do not pull our meters, okay? The reason I say that, because if there's a fault on that meter, you're going to take a shot about like that right here in the chest. We've had 2 of our metermen, pull a 480 meter, but they have all our equipment on, they have all our PPEs, everything else. And you could actually see the outline of that meter base right here in their chest. The kid that was standing behind the 1 meter reader 15 feet away had pop marks of metal in his neck. It goes a long, long ways. So flip your breakers, then leave our meters alone. Let our people know they'll get there, come pull that meter. If you're worried about something else, we'll de-energize that whole service. We can do that very easily. Okay, underground, overhead, doesn't matter. To tell you, we know exactly where the issues are, like the one we were talking about where you flipped the breakers, thought you de-energized something, and there was something else where they still in power. It's hard for us to tell where that's at. It really is. We used to have a division in our department, in our company, it was called current diversion. That's all they did. But it's gotten rampant now. You could tell meters a lot of times were turned upside down. The old days they'd run backwards. They don't now. So it's really hard for us to say when there's going to be an issue, when there's not. Your biggest issue now as well are going to be these new battery banks and things like that we can't really explain to because on their side of the meter. Once it gets to the meter, everything on that side is the owner's. So we can't really deal with that. What are your thoughts, Todd? Dave?
Stored energy. When it's stored energy and it's sitting in a battery bank, unless there's a way to short circuit that, that is always a potential risk. And if they're backdating their house or their business on a battery and they've disconnected from the grid and you're in that atmosphere, that area, there could still be something energized. So having some kind of device that picks up that magnetic energy, it actually AC, alternating current, and DC, both. AC will go through a wavelength. It pumps like a wavelength, the cycle. DC is a constant. Either way, there's going to be an energy build. If you could detect that some way, there's different devices out there, that would be your only sure way of knowing that you've got electricity around you somewhere that you can't see.
We have devices we bought quite a few years ago that actually go on the hard hats. And it's a voltage verification, or not voltage verification, can't remember what the name of it is. But you put it, when you get in that field like Todd's talking about, it'll let you know there's something there. They're not that reliable. They're getting better. But that's something maybe who's ever showing up at the first, we send our troubleshooters have them. I don't know if a lot of them still wear them, but it's just another tool you guys would have. Okay, once you flip that breaker, get on the other side in the house. If it's beeping, there's something else going on. Okay. Like I said, you could get first whomever we talked about a little bit with those voltage detectors. You know, it's up to you. That's just another tool you can use. So, you want to play with the board?
Yeah, we can. Dave.
Any other questions about what we've talked about? I love the questions. I appreciate the feedback. Again, if something comes up, let us know. You've got our contact information. Dave's going to be here a while, a few years. I hopefully not, but I'll let you have that.
Let's say we're on a medical call and we see some shady homemade electrical work. Do you want to be tipped off, or is that kind of like a tattletale thing?
No, that's no. You'd be surprised how much shady stuff is out there.
We see lots of shady stuff.
Yeah, you guys deal with a lot more than we do.
We usually don't find it until there's a fire.
Yeah, exactly. You show up. Yeah.
If any of you want to come up a little closer, you're more than welcome to see that. But, yeah.
Okay, so where's the best?
Right here, I'm going to be showing about right there would be good. Yep.
Should be good.
Yep. And then you can move over there if you'd like. But. Inside of this house, we have a transformer, and it is taking that 120 volts and stepping it up to 30,000 volts, but that's converting it over to a DC. So there is a lot of voltage in here, but low amperage, but it will hurt, and it's not comfortable. It is now energized. Can you see electricity? You can kind of hear a little bit of static in there, but that's the transformer.
Light on the front of the house.
Light on the front of the house, okay. Now, as we talked about, Mike mentioned to you there's 7,200 volts on each one of those lines. So 7,200, 7,200, 7,200, and then this bottom one is the return, the neutral. That's where it's all getting back to, and it's following a pole ground back into the earth, back to its source, back to the transformer, to the XO bushing. So it's making a full path. If you're getting on your truck and you're lifting the boom, anybody that's the engine operator and you're raising that boom, or you've got somebody operating a forklift and they're not paying attention, and they're on the ground and they raise something up near an overhead conductor, you notice I won't even make contact with that, and it depends upon the amount of moisture in the air. But I didn't even actually make contact with that line, and you've got that arc beginning to occur. Now, the distance in order to break that arc will all depend upon how good that source to ground is. And again, the moisture in the air. Right there, I'm about half an inch away, but you can tell I have to go quite a ways away in order to break that arc.
was obvious in that video we showed you, right? See how far you had to get that string to break that?
Now this other one, I've got a pad mount transformer right here. This is what you'd have in your residential area or at business districts where these transformers are sitting, and they don't look harm, like it's going to do any harm. There is signs on them that say don't play, dangerous, electrical. But let's say we have a vehicle that hits one. I'm going to put him up, or it up on top of the car, or up on top of the transformer. We'll use an individual here.
This guy's done this a lot.
And if you were to walk up to that vehicle and try and open the door or put the jaws of life on there, all of a sudden you become part of that path to ground. Even though that car is sitting on that energized source, there's wires that's coming up underneath that transformer and elbows and bushings that sit on that. They can become undone or accidentally maybe broke off during a car hit pole, and they'll lay against that cabinet, and that cabinet could be energized. So even though you can't see it, on the inside of there could be wires laying against that metal cabinet. So as you approach that vehicle, you want to make sure that that's not energized and that you've called the power company and make sure that that's not going to be an issue. Now that's touch potential, and obviously step potential would be getting away from there. So the only way you'd be able to do that is have the people get out of there, jump free, call the power company, we'll de-energize it. That's what happens when the car hits the ground at the same time. Now, that piece of conductor that we passed around, Mike showed you there on the damaged underground wire. Right here I've got a shovel that is made of aluminum. If you've got a shovel that's pretty good, or you've got a customer or an incident where somebody's using an aluminum shovel and they're digging in the earth and they've got a pair of gloves on and any kind of work boots or anything, and all of a sudden they've hit an underground power line and they're touching that shovel, they could become part of that path. If I'm not touching the earth and I'm touching the shovel, I'm not getting it. One of you asked a question about the people on the truck when that string was going. Let's do a prime example of this scenario with the bird on a wire. Let me trade you here a minute, Mike.
This is way better, Mr. Rogers tabletop.
Todd, can you put the mic on your pocket?
Like that? All right, so let's say this string is a bird. The bird flies up, it lands on one wire, no big deal. Flies up, lands, comes along, lands on the second wire, no big deal. Takes off, lands over here on this wire, not a problem. If it's got a wide wingspan and it was to fly, let's say over here by this conductor or this insulator, and it goes to take off and it makes contact between there, that bird is going to be toast. This is no different than that person being on that ladder truck when they hit the water stream on there. They would be on that same phase. They wouldn't be between phases, but if there is a difference in potential, whether it's phase to phase, that's a phase to phase potential. And here would be a prime example of a phase to ground where I'll make contact with this outside phase and the earth ground, this bottom wire right here. Normally, this bottom wire, let's see if I can do this without touching them, is not energized. But if I'm touching a phase, whoop, there's my path to ground, that's phase to ground. But again, phase to phase, or on the one phase, no big deal. It's when you cross those phases or they go to ground. If I could do, let's see.
Dave, he was talking about big wingspans.
Yes.
You're fine, except for.
Yeah, as long as you're not touching the ground.
Sometimes too. If you can jump from the pole,
Willie, today we're going to work on your balancing act on one wire.
Now,
you get a bigger conductor, so
yeah.
it'll be up on the 750 or something. The other thing I've got to mention is all of our stuff is the very top of the pole. We have nothing very low, no lower than a neutral. Anything below our stuff is all the phone, everything else is below us. So we're always the highest.
You've also got an equipment operator out there, many of them, that are operating a track hole, digging. All of a sudden, they hit an underground power line. They may see it and hear it, or it may stay energized. But if they go to get out of that piece of equipment, like you notice the people on the video there, when they get out, if they jump free and clear, they're going to be okay. But the one thing I want you to understand, that this entire backhoe is energized right now. It's all metal. Here's a prime example to show you how that's still energized. If I keep this gentleman on the ground, and I come up there and touch the bucket on the front part, and I release the back end off of the source, now I'm not getting anything there. But if I put that bucket, if you notice there is an underground power line right there. It's got a nick in it, so if I put that piece of metal on top of that nick,
Just grab it.
yeah, just grab it.
Back comes Super Dave Osborne.
Then that tire backhoe is now energized again. So that's where the source is, but that entire piece of metal is all energized. So I want you to be understanding of that and make sure that you tell your operators, if you arrive at the scene, that they maintain their situation where they're at until we get that line de-energized and confirm it's de-energized. If it catches fire, have them jump free and clear of the piece of equipment and don't touch the equipment as they're getting onto the ground. Another thing that we have is wind and trees. You'll see trees out there, tree houses, people climbing in the trees. The wind will blow a little bit. When the wind starts blowing and they've got a branch in the background, if it touches the power line, it'll go through that entire tree because the tree's made of moisture. And the best way to show you that is with a piece of wood. I've got a dried piece of wood here. You want to take a look at that? That's just wood, right? Just dry, no big deal. Okay. Oop. If I take that up here and go between the phases, it shouldn't arc much. Let's make it a little different though. If the rain comes in, good storm,
Great Salt Lake, blowing stuff everywhere now.
or let's say you've been on a fire for a while and you've got your hoses laying in a bunch of water for a while. Now the conditions change. That piece of dry wood, just with a little moisture, now becomes a conductive piece of wood. Even though that was non-conductive, supposedly at the beginning, that was just a regular piece of pine wood. Been dried for, it's been in that box for years. And it's still conductive under the right conditions. That's just salt water in there, or just tap water that you went and got me this morning. That's what that is. Doesn't have any additives to it. No salt, nothing, just regular tap water. Down power line. Let's take this one.
You won't be there, trust me. Todd will before you.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you want to energize that? Okay, there's a number of times you'll have a vehicle hit a pole and you've got a conductor down. Mike showed you the video where it showed the fence line in that neighborhood become energized. Even though you can't tell that that line's energized, it still is. And until that fuse blows back at the pole wherever it is, or at the substation if the circuit breaker trips, you have no idea. So if anybody's to walk up to this fence, keep him on the ground there, and he walks up and touches that fence, that entire fence line is energized. Now granted, there's a ground plate here, but if I stay on that ground plate and continue that path, that's where your path to ground remains. Yep, kill that one. So, nobody wants to walk up, touch that line at all, period. Just back away at least 35 feet. That's the minimum you want to be. If you can remain further, that's even better. Remember that it could affect not only this cross arm, but if that one's damaged and it had anything damaged, it could go to the next structure, a cascading effect. So anything that's up in the air and it's down like this, always be looking 1 or 2 structures either direction to make sure that it's safe for you to be in that area. Want to kill that? I'll put that one back up.
Any questions so far? That makes sense to you guys? Yeah. Pretty visual, makes it a lot easier to understand that. I'm just a dumb layman. I have to have visual things for me to understand. This really puts it across very well.
The other thing we have is irrigators. Not so much here in Salt Lake Valley anymore, but a lot in Idaho. And in the springtime, yeah, they'll take those irrigation pipes that's laying out in the field and move them from location to location. Well, in the winter, the rabbits and the squirrels and different things like that will go in those irrigation pipes and make their home. So in the spring, the farmers and the ranchers and the irrigators will go out there, they'll grab that pipe, try and knock out what they can, and then they'll raise it up into the air to tip everything out of there. Unfortunately, we have those 3-phase or single-phase lines that run through the middle of those fields, and as soon as they take that piece of pipe, and they've taken it from a load position and not paying attention, and they raise that up into the actual power line, then they become part of that path, just like a piece of metal. This is nothing more than a piece of hanger that's attached to that gentleman, that's attached to the earth, and he becomes part of that path.
Last but not least.
Oh, thank you.
Best conductor ever invented right here. Mylar balloons. Literally. That's probably one of the most conductive things I've ever had.
You've had a birthday or celebrations where Mylar's around there, they're terrible. They do conduct electricity better than any source there are is the Mylar between there. If we took that Mylar, even on 1 phase and 1 phase and 1 phase here, it's okay. But when that balloon goes up there and it gets between those 2 phases, that'll trip a circuit so fast or cause all kinds of damage. That may have burned enough off of there, it might not do it anymore. Yeah, there is a little bit. But that's all it takes. And if it stays up there too long, it'll burn the wires down. We'll have all kinds of problems. So Mylar is conductive. Even though they look fun and they say happy birthday and congratulations, if they float free and they get up into the power lines in between the phases, they can be catastrophic. So, FYI. I think that covers it.
Any questions? Concerns? Anything? Everybody kind of understand the process of when you roll up on a scene, do not be afraid to call our dispatcher. Have your dispatcher call ours. Explain to them what's going on. You know, car hit pole, whatever. Like I said, you guys are always there before we are. Sure.
We just go over real quick. A lot of times we get calls from the public who just see lines down
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know the difference. So we show up and they appear to just be utility lines, phone, cable, whatever.
Call us
You
anyway.
just kind of go over where we would see
Yeah.
those. And yeah, you'd still recommend you call. You
Yes.
wouldn't have you come out, but
Sure.
they would run below everything that you have. Correct?
Pretty much.
Do you have the one over there?
Yeah, this obviously this is an underground, but this is kind of stuff. Again, if this makes contact, say this conductor falls or gets across here, these can become energized. Obviously, they're copper, right? So be aware of that. But anything like that is going to be below this is our neutral. Okay, anything below that, other than a service, is going to be phone, cable, things like that. You'll see a lot of cable on the ground. It'll be there for months. We just noticed this. Okay, but if you're not sure, let us know. Our guys will roll up on it. Come on, Todd, don't be afraid.
That are like a vehicle intersections. Are those yours?
The silver ones?
Yes, I'm just wondering why they're not more protected when they're close to an intersection.
That's a really good question. The silver ones are state or whoever owns that traffic control. That's theirs. Everything we own is green, pretty much. Even our secondary boxes, which are just buried in the ground in a residential area, ours are all green. If they're on the pole, they're gray. Okay, that's how you can designate our stuff. There is a little bit of, I don't think there's too much green other than ours, is there? I know the secondary water stuff's purple now, yeah, but most of our stuff is green. That's how you can tell it's ours. And you get massive ones. Some of our industrial stuff, they're 300 kV, 300 kVA tubs. They're huge, but they're still green. Unless you show up, it's burning, it's black. But yeah, that's really how you can tell our stuff.
Your fiber optics, your telephone, cable TV that are running, we have what we call a joint use. Mike mentioned that our services will be on top. Joint uses are told to be down below the ground, the neutral. And if we have a power pole that goes down or a windstorm that blows in and it hits one of those wires, even though that communications is down below the neutral, it still can get entangled here and energize that. So that's where you still want to have others.
But that's a good question. 'Cause that way, like I said, we're always the highest. I don't know if you guys spend much time in the big windstorms. I know the north end of the valley, a lot of times in windstorms, a lot of stuff goes down. So just be aware of it. Again, if you're not sure, just leave it alone, call us. Big windstorms, it's going to take a lot longer to get there, obviously, because it's one of those things. Do the best you can. If you can't stay, just barricade or whatever you can do, and we'll get there as soon as we can. Windstorms are amazing how much stuff we have, how many things get torn down. A few years back, I was out of power. I lived in Centerville. I was out of power for 7 days. I was pissed.
The 2012 one?
I have no pole. Can't you help me out? No. Okay.
Where do we primarily get our power from here in the valley? Does it come from like Emory County?
Oh, in generation?
Yeah.
You got Linden, you got Mona,
Gadsby? Yeah.
So right here, Salt Lake, Linden, Mona, Utah. Granted, yeah, there's some of the power plants in Hunter, Pasadena, and Jim Bridger, which is up in Rock Springs. Depending on the path, if we need to de-energize one of those generation units, we could deliver it from one of those other units.
Kemmer. Yeah. Big plant up in Kemmer. So there's no guarantee where it comes from. But most of it around here, I think, well, not much, because Gadsby doesn't put that much out anymore. Probably comes out of Hunter or Huntington or up north. We just brought a brand new 500 kV line in from Bridger that runs down into southern Utah, or Mona, yes. Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry we couldn't address more about the unknown voltages in homes and things like that. It's just such an unknown. Like I said, we stop at the meters, but if you're not sure, you're not comfortable, our guys can come out, but they really don't do anything inside the homes.